There's a red light flashing in the top corner.
Yeah, the red dot's on there.
Yeah.
You got the sound going?
Yeah. Right. It's my career presentation. My name's Andrew Still. It's the 15th of May 2013. I've learned a lot about myself in the last 2 years. My research ability has sort of come to light this year with the Watergate essay that we've done, and along with the Roots of the News, where I looked at a case study on Hillsborough, which there's obviously a lot in the last 25 years to look at and get sort of information on. Thinking on my feet as well has been a lot better this year. We've done a few live news days and work experience and stuff, and we went to Yeovil Town with Richard, and we had an interview with Gary Johnson, their manager, and he said we only had sort of 3 or 4 minutes, and we only had a couple of questions prepared, but it was obviously you have to think on your feet and sort of bounce off the answers that he gives you to then prepare other questions, and I think I've improved that quite a lot this year. I'm able to pick up new things a lot quicker as well. Sort of when I first started the course, my news stories and my features were often like a bit long-winded, and I always thought that more was better, but this year I kind of learned that when you trim things down a bit and focus more on the important points rather than just running off a list of absolutely everything you can find, it makes everything better and it's a lot better quality. And I've also learned that I work better under pressure, so that when we've got deadlines and stuff, like obviously now it's the last couple of weeks and stuff, everything, I find it so much easier just to sit down and just do my work rather than, oh, it's alright, I can do it later, I'll do it next week. So I think I've improved quite a lot there. I think the second year in particular has helped me a lot with my future career. And it's enabled me to make contacts, which is obviously a massive part of journalism. It's obviously like more who you know than, well, it's not more, but it's a lot of time it's who you know rather than what you know. The live news days has helped me meet people sort of like in the PR sector as well, so if journalism doesn't quite work out in the end, then I've always got kind of things to fall back on. And I actually did my work experience in like a PR sector of the Donkey Sanctuary as well, where we met the manager of the PR department, Susie Cretney, on a live news day, and then we used them contacts to go back and do 2 weeks worth of work experience for the course and sort of learn a lot of new stuff with their software and how different software works and everything. It gave me experience on the PR side, and then we did the work experience at Yeovil Town as well, where we met the media communications manager, Adrian Hopper, who's obviously a good contact to use in the future as well with where I want to go with the sports side of journalism. Sports is like my biggest interest when it comes to writing and everything really. The news stories I find a lot easier to write than features, with how concise it's got to be, and it's just so much easier to write for me than the features where you've got to do so much more research, and I think I've got better at that, but at the end of the day, like when you've got 400, 500 words to write a news story in, and you can look back at that and think, wow, that's really good. I prefer doing that than sitting there to write features, but I do enjoy that. Radio broadcasting as well, kind of more the producer side of it than being behind the microphone, because as you can probably tell now, I get a bit flustered sometimes, and I would always advise people in my position to make sure you keep up to date with the news. Just if you fall behind with the news, it's so hard to catch up, which is what I did earlier in the year, and the media is so hard to get where you need. So take every opportunity that you can. So if you're offered the chance to go and work with someone, obviously you're not going to get paid for it when you're still learning and stuff. You will get the opportunity eventually, but you've got to take those opportunities while you can. Doing research for the presentation, I found a few jobs, which there's a broadcast journalist here in Swindon. His starting salary was sort of $25,000 a year, so you've obviously got to be quite good and have a lot of experience of what they want you to do. There's also jobs, there's a lot of jobs in America, which is sports reporter and photographers. It's a full-time job, $25,000 to $30,000, which obviously isn't as much as it could be, but for starting out, then that's always a good opportunity. To become a sports journalist, I'd have to work with a number of different people and companies, and the most important company that I would end up working with is the Press Association, who are the UK's leading provider of sports content, supplying media coverage for over 40 different sports. I think I work best like when I'm on my own at a desk rather than sitting with a big group of people with music blaring and everyone joking and having a laugh and watching stupid videos on YouTube and stuff. I prefer not to have like the TV and music on just so I can really concentrate. And as I said before, I'm under pressure. My future, I'd like to work for a newspaper or magazine, like obviously maybe a website as well, as a reporter, or maybe like eventually I'd like to become a columnist, so you can throw more of your own opinions and what your thoughts are into your stories and stuff. You obviously have to work hard to get there and get some more experience and stuff. As Keith Elliott once said, editors want people who are immediately useful rather than enthusiastic amateurs. The latter are a liability. They work too slowly, miss out key facts, can't spell or punctuate, and make too many mistakes. So obviously, if you've got the chance to do work experience, it goes back to that again, that you need to make sure that you take the opportunities to do that. And then your life will be so much easier in the future when you get the chance. Like going back to being a columnist, it's like I've looked at Henry Winter, who's a football correspondent for the Telegraph, and Martin Samuels, who's a sports columnist for the Mail, and just some of their work, they're so well recognised, and they get to go on absolutely everything in there, at every single sporting event you could imagine, because of who they are and what they can do. So obviously following in their footsteps would be like a massive achievement if that was possible. There are a few areas obviously that I need to improve on in the future. The editing of media on Final Cut Pro to make it up to a higher standard, and editing my news stories as well, because I always kind of just write it and think that's done. I never really look back at it. I obviously send it off to people to have a look at, but it's not until they point out flaws in it that I feel that I have to think, oh yeah, that could be better, or I could change that. I need to work on aspects such as media law as well. With things like Leveson happening this year, the journalists are having to be much more careful about what they say. Martin Samuels, the writer for the Mail, learned it earlier this week when he wrote an article about footballer Joey Barton, accusing him of being gay, which is obviously slander. And Christopher York of the Daily Mail wrote an article about that as well in the Huffington Post, like just looking at where Martin Samuels went wrong, and obviously that he can't say things like that. I need to get more confident in front of cameras and in front of people, like big groups as well, or it's going to limit my job opportunities in the industry, because most of the jobs in the media are either going to be online based due to the declining figures in print, or in front of a camera, or on the radio, or just generally in front of people speaking. And according to Ofcom, the media is going to be more online based due to the declining figures in print, which I've got a graph there with just the figures of how print's declining compared to online readership. It's more obvious in the tabloid papers rather than the broadsheets, but it's obviously still happening everywhere. With the internet, the last decade has seen an explosion of sports news. As with the introduction of social media such as Twitter and Facebook, sports fans can get news whenever they want it, normally straight from the horse's mouth. So you've always got either someone from the football club coming onto Twitter and like giving you the latest updates, or even during the game there's always someone there to explain to you what's going on, and it's more or less like a shot-by-shot coverage. And Danny Taylor said, it's a strange time for football journalism in one way because everything has evolved so quickly. As one example, it used to be that football reporters wrote ball-by-ball match reports, but that's died a death a little because by the time everyone sees them in the following day's papers, or sometimes 2 days later if you're at a Saturday match and working for a daily paper, people know through TV, internet, Twitter, forums, etc. what's happened during the game. So it's obviously important to make sure that you're up to date with all the media side of everything and competent with all the technology and equipment. In 10 years' time, I think, to make it as a journalist, I'm going to have to move to a bigger city, sort of London or Manchester, where a lot of the sort of big places are based. Like obviously most of the papers and that are in London and stuff, and with ITV and Sky Sports and BBC studios moving up to Manchester and things like that. But I would like to work for a national paper, either online or in print, or as a broadcast producer or presenter, just kind of until my confidence is there to get in front of a camera. Or microphone. So that's it.
Real, that was really good. Great. Excellent. So we'll definitely pass on that.